level 138 as well.
Broadcasting across Australia on Dare Media Group radio stations, this is the Sportcat Show, uncovering secret chapters, strange encounters,
and the occasional technical mishap.
There's always a technical mishap. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sportcat Show, formerly known as the Paranormal Guys. We are live tonight in Australia. Good morning to you. Good afternoon to you. Of course, we are going to be replayed tonight on WZQR in Pine Island, Florida, and over the weekend in Nashville, WRFN. Real quick update. When I say we, Brenda and I will be back live in 1 week. That's going to give us time to get all the doctor's appointments for mom and stuff caught up with. But let's kick it off with the show here. And then, if you hang around until after the show, we'll talk about that stuff. So here we go. We got JM, or as I like to call her, Jen. How are you, Jen?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got a great show lined up tonight. Hello, Denise. Welcome, Denise and Chris. I see you in there. KG, welcome. Yeah, we've missed all you guys. It's been a rough week. But mom fell and broke her arm, in case you don't know, and so I've been playing nursemaid. I'm having to relive my girls. Yes, which I am in Australia. So we got a great show lined up tonight for you. We have two guests, as always. Our first guest, well, he is a master inventor and creator of alternate worlds in RPG games. So he's got Shades of Vengeance out and all kinds of other cool stuff. So let's bring him out. Ed, hello there, Ed. Welcome.
Hello there. Hello, Australia. Hello, America. Hello, everywhere.
That's right. You're in Europe, so and it's.
I'm in London.
Oh,
quite. I was going to say sunny London, but it's not raining. But it is 2 a.m., so not much sun. Not lots of it right now.
It's making its rounds around.
Yeah, it's sort of It
hasn't arrived yet.
Somewhere else, having the day off.
There you go. Yeah,
taking the night off. That's right. Yeah.
This gives you a reason to stay up late and have a beer or something. I don't know.
Well, in some ways, it's really like when you're thinking about sort of paranormal stuff, it's really appropriate to be at the witching hour, more or less.
There you go.
Yeah, somewhere around
I thought
there.
the witching hour, is that between 12 and 1? I always wondered about that.
I always thought it was like between 2 and 3. I have no idea. I'm not sure if
I know in hospitals it's between 2 and 4. It's like your sleepiest hour.
Yeah, I can tell you as a paramedic, if that bell goes off at 3 a.m. for a medical call or a fire, it's the real deal. So between 2 and 4 is about right. So all the worst things happen at night. Mom always says, stay at home, stay in bed. So should have listened.
Yep.
Half right. I'm half right. It's fine. I'm at home.
You're just you're either ahead or behind. I'm not sure. It's tomorrow over there. So
I'm ahead of you. It's tomorrow, correct?
Yeah.
Today is Thursday the 26th. I am in the future.
But
not
there you go.
So I'm in the past relative to Australia.
So depending on which way you're traveling along the globe, you can either go back in time or forward. I always thought that was such crazy.
It's really easy to go forward in time. In fact, nearly everyone can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Harley is in the chat tonight. I forgot to tell everybody she has the flu, and she sounds like Kermit the Frog.
Did you get the thing? You got what I got last month.
So yeah, y'all keep your germs to yourself. I don't want to.
Yeah, germs don't have borders.
No. So Ed, tell me something. We got your book. And I was mesmerized by it, but it took me going over it several times. I'm not an RPG guy. I mean, I did some in high school, but as I was growing up, I kind of drifted away to other things. But it's pretty in depth. You did a really good job with that.
I love the artwork.
I mean, yeah. Volodymyr did a really nice job. Do I mean Volodymyr? Now it's really late at night, and I'm wondering. Yes, I was right. There we are. I got the right name. That's good. Pulled the right name out of the air. Yeah, Volodymyr did a lovely job. You know, when I was like, okay, buddy. We'd worked together on a few things already, and I was like, hey, so I want to do a game that's like Doom, as in demons on Mars. Here's what the demons kind of look like. And I don't really know much more than that, apart from everyone's going to be in like big suits. He just kind of went away and sort of did it. And it was actually really nice to see the stuff come in, like the various different power suits that you can have, the weapons that you can have, the just those moments of animation, like where you've got the dude with the sword slicing the demon in half. You know, you've got the very visceral visual there. He did such a lovely job with it. There was so little prompting from me, apart from here are the demons and here are some of the, like, when we got to the weapons, I was like, right, I'd like to kind of go in this direction, and here are a few specific ideas that I'd like to do. And then he just kind of went away and did it. And that somewhere in my computer, I've got these back and forths between us where, like, he'd send me a preliminary image and I'd be like, right, open up Microsoft Paint. Circle this bit. So I'd like this bit to be gray, and then I'd like it to look like this can go chunk like that. You know, like this thing can open out so the projectile fires down the middle and it just sort of opens when you're about to use it. And then he'd go away and like make those changes and then come back to me. So that's sort of, it was a nicely collaborative situation, but there's a lot of him in these images, in that I just kind of went, I sort of have this broad idea, and I know that I can trust you to go ahead and just kind of wing it from a visual design perspective once I've given you these guidelines. And then the changes that I needed, I mean, you know, we're talking about probably 50% of the images needed 2 or 3 rounds, and that's it. You know, he'd do a quick rough sketch and be like, I was thinking this, is this right? And I'd be like, oh no, hang on. Volodymyr, a resident of Ukraine.
Oh.
So, you know, someone who, when he was looking for work, I was very happy to sort of support him. And, you know, obviously they don't have the easiest of lives out there right now.
Sure.
So he's not on the front lines or anything, but yeah, I was very happy to support, you know, a resident of Ukraine and get some wonderful artwork into the bargain.
How did you get in touch with him? Like, how did you find him, or did he find you?
So I advertised on several platforms. I honestly don't remember which platform I met Volodymyr on. Sorry, I don't recall, because it was like 2 years ago now. And you know, we got talking, and he showed me some of his work, and I really liked it. And it kind of grew from there. The first project that he worked with me on was actually a Dark Souls inspired project, which I've not actually finished the book for yet. I'm still working on the book. I definitely will get it done at some point. But you know, this was about the 3rd or 4th project that we worked on after doing a few other bits and pieces. Can't remember if we did the sci-fi weapons first or before or after this one. Yeah, 3rd or 4th project, I don't recall.
Yeah, I was going to say the process you were describing, like you're trying to verbalize the ideas that are in your head and you're going back and forth, and sounds a lot like when I'm trying to get a cover design for a book. I can't, and that's only one picture. I can't imagine like how many pictures you have in your book going back and forth for every single one of them. Must have been like frustrating. And how long did it take?
Well, if you think about it, right? Whoops, turn that way. These are the books that I've written and published, right? So this everything that's in sight here, I wrote and published. Most of these, certainly this shelf, are tabletop role-playing game rulebooks. Some of them up there and some of them down here as well. So I've done this a lot for almost 15 years now. It's just coming up to 15 years that I've been doing this. So, and you know, especially with tabletop role-playing game rulebooks, Era Marscape, technically for me, is relatively light on artwork. Like it's not. There's only one image every, I think on average every 3 pages. Yes, there are pages where where it's a bit more dense, but on average it's roughly every 3 pages. So the answer is it didn't take that long because so much practice. And I appreciate, you know, when you're doing a novel cover, as indeed I have with my own novels, I actually do a talk quite often at conventions. And one of the things I say is the fewer images you have, the more every detail matters. And you know, if you've been doing book covers, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like every detail has to fit your world perfectly. Otherwise, you're really making big mistakes. Yes. I'm not going to say that I have less of an attention to detail, but what I'm saying is when you do that for literally hundreds of images in a single book, which is where I started, you sort of get used to the level of specificity you have to have and the level of things that you're willing to go, you know what, I'm willing to let you decide what that looks like. You find that balance between, because I am a detailed guy, right? I massive focus on attention to detail. I really like detailed, broad worlds. This is actually more of a narrow sketch. You know, it's not like such a huge, you know, 400-page book. But even so, I like to have every detail pretty close. That said, where I say, oh, I want this, there's some breadth in there. And working with the right artist, especially when you work with consistent artists, as I said, I've been working with Vladimir for a long time now. And the Dark Souls-inspired project, Era Soul Mist, was one of those hundreds of images. So, you know, we got to know each other a bit better and we got to know what it was that he needed to know. And unfortunately, there are some things as an artist that he doesn't execute brilliantly. Hey, like anyone, right? There are things that I don't execute brilliantly. Comedy, not really my area, right? So, you know, I'm willing to let him go. But having done hundreds of images with him, I now know, right, okay, well, I'm not going to ask him to do that because it doesn't come out that well when it happens, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to avoid that and we'll picture something slightly different instead. And at the same time, I know how much information I need to give him about my vision, about like, oh, hey, I need this. How deep is my list of this? Volodymyr, it was relatively deep. He liked to have all of the details. He liked to have the book manuscript so that he could go over it, read it, understand it.
That makes sense. So he knows where he's coming from.
Helps a lot. Yeah.
Was there a language barrier, or I don't know if
not really.
Okay.
It's funny actually. His English is excellent, and that is true of almost all non-English artists I've ever worked with, which is a few, especially on comics. His English is excellent. The one thing that would happen is occasionally I would say something and he just kind of wouldn't understand the word. I'd be like, oh, it's, I can't think of a specific example off the top of my head, but I'd be like, oh, it's like a spire. And he'd be like, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. Can you send me a picture, please? You know, it's sort of like that. I mean, actually, the front cover here, this tower in the background, at the back of the front cover, this took about 7 or 8 tries to get exactly the right shape. You know, to get it, and all I was trying to get was like a flat-topped tower. I do recall that, you know, it was like, oh no, can we make the top flat? And it would come back with a different shape, or, you know, a pointy or whatever. And it's like, oh, right, okay, you're not getting it. What am I always try, when I'm working with an artist, I always try to come from the perspective of, what am I not explaining well enough that you understand? Especially when we're talking in English. One of my firm beliefs, and I should say, in real life, this is not my day job, this is my by night, so incredibly appropriate. I'm here at 2:15 a.m. In my day job, I'm a project manager or a head of delivery nowadays. And I one of my sort of beliefs, fairly firm beliefs, is if you're the better communicator, you carry a greater burden for the communication working on both ends, right? So I always, like I say, I always try to come from words lost. I always try to come at it from that perspective of humility of, right, he's reading my English. I explained it in a way he did not understand. How do I change my explanation so that he understands it better?
So the kind of
rather than going, oh well, you know, he should understand better. It's obvious. It's. I think it's very important, especially when someone. I mean, his Ukrainian is far better than my English, right? Sorry, wrong way round. His English is far better than my Ukrainian. Wow, that is who I am. His English is far better than my Ukrainian. So, you know, I wouldn't like to say, hey, you should understand it better. I like to come at it from a perspective of humility, basically. You know, why is it that he's not understanding that? What have I said that led him in the wrong direction, and how do I resolve that?
Have you ever had to, because I know sometimes especially with positions of items and stuff, have you ever had to do like a little sketch and say, I want the character here and I want their weapon like here, and then I want a certain thing here, and I'm very visual learning, so I just wondered if you ever had to resort to that.
I've often had to do that, yeah. What I usually do is I actually grab paint. Now, paint is a very, very versatile tool, and I'm actually quite good at using it. So what I'll be doing is I'll be grabbing it and I'll literally move the thing. I'll be like, I think the character, like, I've got the silhouettes here, and I think the character should be more over here. I try to do it from sketches because obviously the further you are along in the process, the more work it is to fix a change, right?
Yes.
So I try to catch everything I can as early as possible. I'm a big believer in, I didn't spot that. Okay, I understand. There's some additional compensation coming my way because that's my fault, right? Again, coming from a place of humility, these artists, they're trying to do the best they can. I mean, whether they're native English speakers or not, they're not trying to do a bad job, right? They didn't understand, and that means you did something wrong. Now, I'm stick figures about my upper limit. I'm not much of an artist, but I've been doing art direction. I've been doing art direction for an extremely long time now, and you know, I know when something looks wrong. I can go, hey, the lighting, you know, it's on this side. It really ought to be on that side because you're lighting it from the right, but you've got light coming on the left. What's going on here? I can definitely have those kinds of conversations. But for a lot of it, I am reliant on the artist, and it means that you have to build a level of trust, mutual trust, right? Obviously, artists who are freelance, and please, if you are thinking of getting an artist, pay them, okay? Like whether they are, again, native English speakers or not. Everyone who is trying to do freelance work deserves to be paid. I'm a firm believer in that. You can find the money somehow. You can find someone who doesn't want pots and pots of cash. You can make compromises on what it is that you're willing to deliver. Please don't just take advantage of people. That's a bad thing. But you know, they obviously you have to build that kind of trust, but also you need to build a trust in the creative sense. No freelancer, artist, writer, whoever is in it just because they want to do exactly what someone else thought of. They want to put their own spin on it, and giving that capacity, that space for them to do things a little bit their way is enormously rewarding for everyone involved, because I'm not a visual designer. And, you know, if you look at these, I am going the right way this time. If you look at these images, which are some of the images from some of my books, each one of these was like, I want this character being dragged away by this monstery thing. Can you make it look like she's terrified? Back comes the artist with sketches that, and we work on it together, but eventually lead to this, which I think is stunning. I absolutely love this piece of artwork. This one, I wanted like the mystery, you're standing in front of a fortune, but you kind of regret that you're standing there. Like all your team has died getting you here. What's going on? It's like giving, and those four are actually, two of them are the same artist and the other two are two different artists. Giving them that space to express themselves while expressing the details that you need. Again, incredibly rewarding.
Makes sense. We all want to put our little spin on everything, whether it's doing a live show or creating artwork.
Indeed.
Now, with some of this, you got a couple different type of characters in this. You had some real heavy hitters and some things that are really kind of tough looking. But what impressed me was the weaponry. Are you like a weapons expert, or is? I mean, I know you said Doom, but
for the UK, the answer is actually a fairly firm yes. I am a weapons expert relative to many people in the UK. I actually grew up around guns, which is relatively unusual. I happen to be an excellent target shot, and I've competed several times in international competitions even. So since the age of about 7, I've actually been shooting guns at targets. Started with air pistols, went on to 2.2, ended up shooting 7.62s, 7.62 millimeter rounds at anywhere up to 1 kilometer.
Oh wow!
Nice.
So I'm actually a pretty decent shot myself. One of the things I do, my wife is a Filipina, and we often go to the Philippines to visit her family. One of the things I do out there is something that I can't do here, which is shoot handguns. Basically, you can't get hold of a handgun here. It's extremely difficult. Rifle shooting was sort of air pistols, yes, but other than that, it was rifle shooting all of the time. So I actually shot my first ever handgun when I went to the Philippines for the first time. It was just sort of a fun thing that my wife said, "Oh, why don't we go do this?" And she did know I'm a good shot, but I think I'm still impressed. So yeah, relative for the UK, I kind of am a weapons expert. I wouldn't call myself in general a weapons expert. I'm very comfortable with the concept of weaponry, why different weapons feel different. My rule set that I've created is somewhat similar to another game which is quite popular called Vampire the Masquerade. It's a tabletop role-playing game that was extremely big in the 90s. It's still got a large following, and I'm a fan of that game, for the record. I liked the rule set to a point, and decided to kind of take the basis of what they were doing, adjust, and in my opinion, improve it. But one of the things they do is they have a dexterity link to the gunnery skill. And one of the first things I did was actually disconnect that from dexterity and put it into a more mental focus skill, wits. Because having shot weapons all my life, I am well aware that it is far more what's up here than what's here when you are firing a weapon, right? It's just one of the things that always peeved me about it, that it's like, well, no, because pointing the weapon in the right direction is like 1/3 of the battle here. Like actually firing a weapon without canting, without pulling, without, all of those other things, which is far more how am I thinking, how am I approaching, how am I controlling myself? For me, it's a mental component more. So, I that was one of the first things that I changed about my rule set before it was even a full-on rule set. It was one of the first things I did. Yeah, again, because I have that understanding of what it is like to shoot weapons, aiming for accuracy. For the record, I've never shot at a person or indeed at a living thing. My mother once asked me if I would shoot rabbits for her, and I actually refused. I don't think I could realistically point a weapon at a living thing.
I've shot plastic BBs at living things before.
Yeah, that's a slightly different scenario, isn't it?
That's fun. Although there's a lot of give and take there because they hurt when you get hit with them too.
Oh yeah.
That's right. You're airsoft. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
yeah. I don't consider myself a weapons expert, but I have been around weapons for a good chunk of my life. Also, I play a lot of computer games, and as you said, Doom. There's a lot of guidelines there in various games, not just Doom. There were a lot of influences on this. I play a lot of games. I even have an entire bookshelf that you can't see behind me of other games that I didn't write. You got to know your industry well before you're trying to contribute to it. And I did go through each of those and go, hey, is there anything here that I might want? So alongside the sort of the staple classics that you'd know from Doom, if you played the original Doom or even any of the later games, like the light assault rifle or the ballista is effectively my sniper rifle. Yes, you've got those things, but then on top of that, you've got sort of some more, I guess, sort of, you've got a minigun and you've got some of the more classic things that you might see in various other games as well. And then you've got my personal favorite weapon, the blaster halberd, which is some kind of unholy mix of a halberd and a shotgun, which only seemed appropriate if you're fighting demons, right? Unholy mixes, that seems right.
Seems appropriate.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. The Mars setting is, I guess the right word I want to use is harsh, and so it's bad enough that it's harsh, but now we got demons too. So.
Yeah, I mean, demons appearing on Mars is obviously the kind of core concept of Doom. And through the various games, the original games, it was like, by the way, you're on Mars, go kill demons, basically, was the entire lore of the game. And now it's like, books long lore. I wanted to sort of take the raw essence of that original concept and go, hey, first of all, obviously Doom is a single player first person shooter. It was one of the first that did what it did. Tabletop role-playing games are a group game, right? So I wanted to make that a group experience, right? But I think the nod to Doom of like, oh yeah, it is on Mars, right? Humanity's gone to Mars. And then they wanted more. In Doom, it's sort of like electrical power. In era Marscape, it's kind of fuzzy exactly what happened that made the demons appear. But basically, portals to hell start opening up, and it's like, oh well, that sucks. That's not good. You've got the civilians some of whom are turning into weird culty, weird things, and you've got the civilians who are trying to survive. And I thought, right, what if you are like the strike team, the defense team that's trying to stop the demons from spreading into this part of the complex, where the normal humans are. I thought that would be a lot of fun. And then you sort of bring in what makes this game unique relative to others is kind of the tactical nature of it. I'm trying to explain something that absolutely anyone who plays role-playing games every day would just know in a way that's a bit more accessible to everybody, because no disrespect intended, I know you don't play lots. So the way in which most games work is a very strict order of action, right? You roll a dice, you add it to a stat that you've got, and that comes to a number called the initiative, and then you go in order, right? So rather than just doing that, this game was an opportunity to play with that. And in playing with that, I brought the team closer together. So the idea is that based on several factors which are decided by the games master. For example, how much ammunition the team has left. Are you low on ammo, right? Or are you ambushed, right? Like, do you walk into a room and you look around, you don't see anything, and then they jump out at you? Various other things. You know, if you're prepared versus ambushed, if you have ammo versus don't, there are a few other bits and pieces in there. You have a level of cohesion as a unit working together. Now, the problem is that if your cohesion is low, what you have to do is submit, I'd like to go third, to the games master. And the games master then sorts it out, like decides what order everyone goes. If your cohesion is low, and let's say everyone just writes, I'd like to go first. Well, the games master will then decide how many demons go before first, how many, you know, who actually does go first, and so on, because you are really disorganized. So they will decide, and you won't know until it comes around to your turn. If you're super prepared, on the other hand, you actually get to pick which order you and the demons go in. So if there are 4 of you and 4 demons, you go, right, I'd like to go first, then a demon, then Matey over here, then a demon, then Bob, then a demon, then Jim, then a demon, right? And that's the order we're going to go, and we'll make it like this. And you actually get to choose. So the unit being cohesive, like one member of the unit sharing their ammunition with another member of the unit, actually becomes a flat benefit to the group, right? If you end up in a combat situation. This isn't something that's generally done. Like, this is not a thing in any other game I've ever seen, and I've looked at hundreds, many hundreds. And that really interests me. Doing something with initiative, which is kind of seen as like, it's seen like mature technology. Like, initiative is done this way. Everyone knows initiative's done this way. There's no other way of doing it. You know, that there are like 2 or 3 ways, but they all really come down to the same thing of, you've got a stat, you add a random number to it. Some people use cards to, you know, draw a card from a playing card deck. But you have a thing, you add a random number to it, that's your initiative, you go in order. That's how nearly every game does it. And I've never seen a game do it quite in this tiered approach. Is kind of a new thing, which I think is a lot of fun. I think it's really interesting. And I also think that it promotes that very tight teamwork approach, which you can have real problems with that in I mean, you said you played before, Glenn. You can have problems in teams, like someone wants to go their own way and, you know, they want to do their own thing. Maybe they even want to do something against the rest of the group sometimes. That's absolutely not happening here. You are going to be this really tight-knit group that work together as best you can, because survival depends on everyone, which is a really nice, it generates a nice environment at the table. Like, no one's trying to one-up anyone else. Everyone's trying to go, oh, you're low on ammo. That's going to lower my cohesion as well. There's a little bit of selfishness in there, but that's going to lower all of our cohesion. What are we going to do about that? How are we going to improve this?
No Leroy Jenkins.
That was very technical. Sorry about that.
No, I got it. But yeah, like I said, no Leroy Jenkins. So.
No Leroy Jenkins, indeed. I played World of Warcraft for a very long time. And I was a raid leader, and Leroy Jenkins may be the worst human being in existence as far as I'm concerned. Like, he's up there. The number of people who think that's hilarious, you know, you're trying to explain and you just wipe. And especially since I was a tank as well as a raid leader, so I got all the big repair bills, I was not impressed. No, that was an instinct.
I just love the way he just, Leroy.
He wiped the group. I mean, he's not my favorite human being.
I just found a new group of people because I thought I was the only one. Like, I'm the only person that of all my group friends that played World of Warcraft, and I actually played it before it became World of Warcraft, when it was just Warcraft, and it changed a lot when it went online. So I found a new group of people. You guys are my people.
And by the way, hold on a minute. I got to do this now.
Leroy
I'm sorry. That's the funniest part to me. Okay, I'm sorry. I won't do that again.
Oh dear.
For
Oh,
your
dear.
RPG, for your game, like how many
Kids
people
never coming-
do? We're never going to stop laughing. Forget about it. I was just wondering how many people can comfortably play. I know you can have probably more or less, but how many people was this designed to accommodate for groups?
So usually 4 to 6 is ideal for most of my games. In fact, this one included. I actually did make a game that was designed specifically for like 1 to 2 people. It's sort of a different but related game called Era Forbidden, which also is about demons, but also angels. But yeah, about 4 to 6 people plus the games master. I have run with 11 people. Not this game, but other games. The problem you run into is at that point, everyone gets to do so little.
Yeah.
That they all feel quite disengaged. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna sit there and look at my phone until it's my turn. And like I'm a your phone is banned at the table kind of person. Like, you're here, we're doing it together, right? I've a couple of times at conventions been kind of forced into running for 8 people at a time, and I'm okay at that in person. Online, I really struggle with more than about 5, because you've got crosstalk. Not everyone has a camera. You've got some real problems of like, oh, has that person been quiet for too long now?
Did they step away? Or are they AFK?
Yeah, exactly. You don't even know. Again, from my raid leading days, that's something that you always had to think about, even in a 10-man raid, let alone a 40-man raid. Yes.
I know. I'm just starting to learn.
Yes.
I've got a group of friends, then they're teaching me Dungeons and Dragons. And I know that there's a lot of you're sitting there doing this, or you're looking through your manual and stuff, and everybody else is getting a chance to go. And then by the time it comes to your turn, you don't get a chance to even do anything because you miss or you roll bad. And then when it comes around again, they're all gone. All the bad guys are gone, and then you don't get a chance to really do anything. But so I think that you're right. Smaller, more concise groups are better.
Smaller groups tend to be better. I've got a lot of things to say about Dungeons and Dragons, but that's a whole other thing. So unless you really want me to delve into it, I'll leave that on one side. I will say Dungeons and Dragons is a game, in my opinion, that has been outstripped by many, 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 many others that just have better marketing than most tabletop role-playing games can afford. And I would encourage anyone who is learning Dungeons and Dragons or who plays Dungeons and Dragons to try something else. Can be one of my games, can be anyone's games. I don't even mind. Try something else, and I don't mean Pathfinder, which is Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, but like with the label stripped off. Try something else, because there are so many games out there. There are thousands and thousands out there for every single type of person. And what Dungeons and Dragons marketing would have you believe is that if you aren't playing D&D, you are not playing a role-playing game. And that's simply wrong. There are many, many better games for most people. Nearly everybody will find a game they like better when they start delving into the indie. It's the fear that you might not find someone. And on that note, I actually run games on my server. So if you would like to join us at some point, I can give you the link after we're done.
Yeah.
They're open, they're free. Really anyone is welcome to join us on our Discord and have a go at some of our games. We've got sci-fi, we've got fantasy, we've got pretty much any genre you can think of, superheroes. I'm a Final Fantasy fan, so I wrote a Final Fantasy game.
Oh, nice.
I mentioned the Dark Souls-esque game. You name it, I've probably had a go. I even made just recently for a friend. He asked me about making a game that was a bit like Pokemon. So I made a Pokemon role-playing game, like not Pokemon, because I can't afford that kind of license. But I made a game that's basically Pokemon, just for fun. I have these ideas when people ask me things. That's why I was here last time. In fact, Ira Kaiju that I came to speak with you about before. My friend, we were sat actually. It'll be 3 years ago now. We were sat down watching kaiju movies because it's my birthday and my friends all come together and we have a movie night on my birthday. We were sat there watching kaiju movies, and one of my friends said, you can never make that into a role-playing game.
Challenge accepted.
That's a really dangerous statement.
Hold my beer.
Around me. It's really dangerous.
Yeah.
So that's why I made the kaiju game.
So for somebody who's just getting into RPG, tabletop RPGs, would you say that Shades of Vengeance would be a good place to start, or is there somewhere else that would be? Is this more for advanced players?
No, not at all. Actually, I have frequently sat down people who wanted to try D&D, for years and had never actually done anything. I used to exhibit at the largest convention here in the UK, MCM Comic-Con in London, and I used to exhibit and have a big table with 4 game tables, and I'd have people sit down and play with a games master. And for many, many people who came by, it was their first ever role-playing game experience. I never had anyone, including 10-year-olds, take longer than 5 minutes to understand how the rules work on a basic level, right? It's not one where you are flipping through the manual the whole time trying to figure out what you can do. I as a game designer, I have a lot of pet peeves about the way some people do things. One of those is, why would everything not be on your character sheet? Why would everything you can do not be on your character sheet? Like, why are you looking through the manual to find out what this thing is? Why is it not written on your character sheet? So for my superhero game, for example, it's on your character sheet exactly what your superpower is, exactly how that can be applied in various scenarios, how good you are at applying it in various scenarios, and so on. I firmly believe that on top of that, the character sheet should be something nice to look at, right? I figure there are 2 things in a tabletop role-playing game that you look at more than any other. One is the front cover, and one is the character sheet. That's just this part. Sorry. The other bit is the stats for one of the very, very scary bad guys, which I put there deliberately facing the back cover, so when people open the back cover, they can freak out about how strong the bad guys are. That was a tactic in design. So, the answer is anyone who wants to try role playing. Yes, the other GMs who are on my server and running games, we are all very used to teaching new people. We're very patient. We're very understanding. We encourage players to do the same. Nearly everyone. Bear in mind, my games are tiny, right? Like in terms of audience, a few thousand people, tiny, right? And given that, everyone on the server learned the game for the first time within their, relatively recent memory, certainly within the last 10 years on the absolute outside. I created the game within the last, 12 years on the outside. So it's not really a big thing for us to have someone come in and go, I know nothing about these rules. Maybe even I've never even played a role-playing game before. Is that okay? And the answer is always yes. Come, sit down. Let your imagination run free. Get into the character, play the character, and we'll help you out. We'll explain what it is that you need. We're not just going to hand you even a small book like this. I mean, this is a small one, but if you were to play Era the Consortium, we're not going to hand you this book and go, well, go learn the rules and we'll see you next week. That's not who we are, right? We as a community, we're all about enabling people to get into the hobby because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I have made so many new friends since starting this community. And I'm really not a very social person, to be honest. I talk very well in this scenario, and I'm very good at running games. But like in general, I'm much more of an introvert, and all of that stuff's just come from practice and time and being around people who made me feel safe enough to do it.
Well, it's also your passion too. So it's a lot easier to talk about something you're passionate about than it is to talk about something that you're like, eh.
That is very true. It really is very easy to talk about something you're passionate about. But in my experience, anyone can be passionate about a role-playing game, because what they're doing is they're building a character that they can identify with in some aspect of it, right? They're going, oh, you know what? Every time this person ends up in a crunch, they hesitate. It can actually be, there's a whole company here in the UK, which, actually looks at therapy through role-playing games. It's absolutely fascinating what, like, I, for example, I might tend to be hesitant in many situations. A choice comes along, I have analysis paralysis. Okay, well, you know what? Let's have you make a character that doesn't have that analysis paralysis, or who just makes a choice, right? This is a completely safe environment. What happens? Your character dies. Oh, well, make a new one. It's like, okay, fine. But what tends to happen instead is, people start to realize that some of the choices that they could make are things they'd normally reject, or they can actually choose very quickly if they apply the way they're approaching the situation in the right way. So I think that's fascinating. This company is called Game Therapy UK. I don't know too much about the company, but their mission statement is very interesting to me.
Yeah, because I know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's fascinating. I mean, I like the theory of that.
Being a person who goes from, because I played a lot of the PC games. I didn't do much of the gaming systems and stuff, but I'm a very visual person, and switching from the digital games to a tabletop role-playing game, I found that it was a lot more immersive. You're doing all the thinking, but you have to visualize a lot of it. And I feel that this would be a good game for younger kids nowadays. There's so many digital distractions out there that this is something that would bring back that imagination skill.
Absolutely. I've got a 4-year-old son. We're already doing not this one. This one's maybe a bit violent. We are already doing bits and pieces together. I think that it's so. I also grew up with computer games and a lot. I was a PC gamer. I'm more now a game system gamer. It just suits my lifestyle better at the moment. Especially with a 4-year-old. But my first role-playing game experiences were Traveller via the Mega Traveller 1 computer game. Yes, I'm that old. And Neverwinter Nights, which is a fantastic PC game. Actually, it recently came out on PlayStation 4. Nice. They did a remastered version of it, which I loved because it's one of my favorite games of all time. But in Neverwinter Nights in particular, they actually show you in a window at the bottom what your dice rolls are. Like you can actually follow what the dice rolls are. It's D&D 3, 3rd edition rules. I can actually follow what your dice rolls were as you're doing it, right? Here is what you rolled. Here's your modifier. Here's your other modifiers, and so on. And this is how I arrived at this result, which resulted in a hit, miss, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's done at the pace of a computer game rather than the pace of being able to roll physically 5 attacks. Takes a while.
Yes.
D&D 3 was kind of written for computers more than people, in my humble. The amount of arithmetic you have to do is a bit obscene. So, those were my first experiences role-playing. My first tabletop role-playing experience was, actually, it's a funny story. I went to my university indoor gaming society. I was encouraged by my girlfriend at the time. And she was like, "Oh, we should go do that." I'm like, "Okay, fine, cool, yeah, fine, yeah, I'll go do that." We played a session, and it was a game called Paranoia, which is absolutely absolutely brilliant. I've got the rulebook right
I've
here.
heard of that.
It's so fun. It's the silliest, dumbest game of all time, where you play as a troubleshooter, which means you find trouble and shoot it.
Love it.
Like that.
In a complex underground in the future after a nuclear war, where you're watched over by friend computer, and you believe that communists wear, you know, fur hats and do Russian dances because that's what you think communism is. It's utterly hilarious. So, you know, I play this one game and I'm like, oh, that was fun. Let's go back next week. Okay. And they're short of GMs the following week. So they look around and go, oh, well, will anyone willing to run a game? And I'm like, fine, I'll do it. I'll do it. I basically have played less than 10 times ever since I did that. Like, I've been GMing for ages. I love GMing. I actually really enjoy it. And that's an important thing to remember. You know, a lot of people think, oh, GMing must be really bad, like it must be really boring or whatever. You know, you must have to do what all the players want all the time, or maybe the GM's a psychopath and they just want to kill us off. Whether I'm a psychopath or not, we'll leave on one side for 1 minute, but I definitely don't want to just kill you all off. What I want as a GM is to tell a brilliant story collaboratively. So I've got my story elements that I'm going to do, and you guys are going to react to those things. You're going to take actions proactively and reactively that are going to build this story together. Really, it's just a structured form of group storytelling. That's really what this is fundamentally. And a lot of people, in my opinion, get lost in the dice and the rules and the, you know, all of those things. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it is about telling a story, a great story together. Better story than any of you could tell alone together. That's what role play is.
Yeah, because you're going through the story as well, and you're discovering it as if you are the character, not knowing what's coming up.
Well, and GM secret, you know, like I feel like that guy who gave away all the magician secrets. GM secret. I have an idea of what's going to happen, but I don't know. Like, I think these things are going to happen, but if you take certain actions and things change, those are not the things that are going to happen. And I have before, and this is, to me, this is the sign of a great GM, and I don't do it as often as maybe I should. I'm really sorry. Can I have a minute? I need to just work out what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Right. What's going to happen is this. Right. That to me, that's the sign of a great GM. Right. I don't do that as often as maybe I should, but yeah, I for the record, I've been GMing a long time. I've got a lot of experience. I don't consider myself a brilliant GM. I'm a better game creator than I am a GM.
So you would say that it's not a good GM if they're like, you should check out that mouse, wink, wink, hint, hint, you know, and they're trying to nudge you in that direction.
If the GM can't find another way for you to find out that information, I think maybe they need to consider their understanding of the area that you're in, right? That's something that I and many others call railroading, which is not a technique that I think is great. I try and avoid it. I think that and I've had a couple of games run for me that were very, here is a thing in front of me and I will read this like a robot, like exactly this is what happens and this happens and this happens. And it was such a bad experience. I actually wrote my own version of that session and ran it, not for the same person, but for a group, to prove that session did not have to be run really badly. You know, like you can run it with a bit more flexibility in it that makes it good. But yeah, I mean, I sat down at the table. This is not so long ago. It's a few years back, and it was like, oh, this guy wants to attack his older brother because his older brother has the manor house. The manor house is on stilts because this area floods and there are steps up to it. and you're like, okay, well, we're going to stay here. This is quite a defensible position. GM goes, no, you have to run out into the rainy night and go and attack. I'm like,
What?
No, I don't want to do that.
It's like in real life.
Like,
Why would you do that?
Because that's what you have to do. And I'm like, dude, seriously, come on. It didn't help that this was after the GM had been boasting that he's been GMing for 20 years. So, yeah, I was like, okay, all right, I'll make the best of it, I guess. So yeah, I think that if you can't find another way of doing it, if you're a first time GM and you go, I'm not certain about the rules here, and you're playing a game, again, this is about finding the right game and why D&D is not the right game for everybody. I had very early on, after I created my first game, the white one back here that I've pulled out a couple of times now, someone came to me and said, you know what, I could not find the rule in the rule book for this thing. So I made something up. And he was actually doing a podcast of gameplay of my game at the time. So I go listen to the podcast. And I'm like, yep, that's right. That's exactly what I would have done. And also it's on page 76 of the rule book. To me, that's a well-designed game, right? Mm-hmm. Something where you would intuitively do the right thing just because you know the rule set in general, or even you just have the confidence to go, you know what, it's not what the scenario says, there's no specific rule for this, I'm going to do this. And you have the confidence to say you feel like the rule set's going to back you up at some point, mm-hmm. but you have the confidence to say that's a good GM. That's because GM, even if you're a first timer running it, someone who understands, again, the story comes first every time. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about. So,
well, and it makes sense if it's logic. If it's a logical progression, then you know you've done your rules well because it makes logical sense.
Yeah. Ed, couple things, because we're running short on time. I've got the one question, I'm going to ask you about, but I do want to circle back and touch on something since we're international. You were talking about how this game may be a little more violent. What genres do you have? And I guess that'll lead me into kind of a two-part question. How can everybody get this stuff?
So, many genres. We've got science fiction, hard sci-fi, sort of every sub-genre of sci-fi that you can imagine is in this game. That was the first game I made. I was very sick of having to buy a Star Wars game, a Star Trek game, and a Firefly game, and they've all got different games. I wanted it all under one roof with one rule set running in one way. So that's where I started with sci-fi, which is the white bit. We've got low fantasy storytelling. We've got superheroes. We've got survival horror, post-apocalypse. We've got the Final Fantasy-esque game. We've got the Angels and Demons game I mentioned, which is another post-apocalyptic. We've got high fantasy, you're on the Isle of Silence, like an escape room on a tabletop. You've got modern era hitmen with superpowers, fast burn superpowers, so you can only use them once. You've got my brain is locking up. You've got kaiju. You've got basically any genre you can think of. I've had a crack at, and there is a game for that genre. The answer to your second part of your question is you can get it all off our website, which is era-games.com. If you're interested in just broad universes, you can visit our other websites because we also make comics and also audio dramas. And those are on sovcomics.com and erascapes.com. At the bottom of each of those websites, there is a link to our Discord, which has our community, not just for role-playing games, but for the other things as well. And basically we build universes. I even made I even made a movie. This is my short movie that I made in my superhero universe, which I made a couple of years back. So, from novels to card games to role-playing games to comics, I've had a go at pretty much everything. And yeah, you can find it all on those individual websites, or there's a parent website which sort of has it'll send you in those three directions, called shadesofvengeance.com, all one word, as written there. I'm really struggling with this because the camera's reversed. Like, this is, yeah.
You're dyslexic.
Yeah,
really
down there, shadesofvengeance.com, down there. So yeah, that's where you can find us.
Okay. And for anybody listening on the audio, you can come over to the Sportcat shows and it'll be in the show notes. Probably not tonight. It's going to be a little late, but it'll be in the show notes tomorrow. And everybody listening on the FM, make sure to come over and check that out. All right, Ed, you know that we've been waiting for this. We want to know, have you ever seen a Bigfoot or had a paranormal experience or been woke up by a spirit at night?
So I've got this really big problem with paranormal experiences, because no matter how often I visit crop circles, aliens won't abduct me. I guess I'm too much even for them. I do talk a lot. I guess maybe I'm just a bit much. But unfortunately, not yet. But that doesn't mean I will stop trying. I grew up in farmland here in England, so I have seen many crops, and I look forward to the day that the crop circle comes up that I can go and meet some aliens. Maybe I'll pitch them some of my books. Tabletop role-playing games, right?
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
I have an alien
No,
on my
you
table.
get this wrong on Mars. You got to do it this way.
Yeah. Hey, Martians. Look,
That's
this
right.
is what we think. What do you really look like? Come play with us.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, yeah. Before, hold on a second. Before we get out of here, I wanted to, I told my co-host, I said, all right, we're going to nerd out a little bit on this show. And you'll have to forgive me. It's AI. But I went and I made us all characters based on us. This is me as the, come on, show on screen. That's me as the boss jock.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how that came out. And this is you missed Harley. She's not here. This is Harley. I'm not really sure what she is. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, that doesn't look crazy at all. It's probably fine.
Yeah. And then Jen, well, she's the one that keeps us balanced, and I'm not sure she's going to shoot the guy in the head or save him, but
I'm pretty sure
Not really looking at him.
I'm pretty sure she's saving him. I'm pretty sure.
So I wanted to show you that. I know it's AI. Sorry, but I have.
AI for a bit of fun. I don't have any real problem with AI for a bit of fun that you wouldn't do anyway.
Okay.
Sorry, you know what I mean. But
Yeah,
you were never going to go and commission an artist for that. But I will say, just as a closing note, in seriousness, to anyone who's listening, if there's a thing that you really, and you will know, that you should be commissioning an artist for, commission an artist. Please don't use generative AI. It does steal from other people. It's a great tool for fun, like Glenn just used it. I'm completely fine with an ethical use like that, where it's just a little bit of fun. Please don't use it for something, that really you should be supporting artists. They don't grow to this level by doing no work before that, right?
Correct.
And a lot of those jobs are drying up for artists now. And a lot of artists are not getting the practice that they need and the gaining those skills as a result of AI. So please, if you are thinking about using AI for a book cover or whatever, please don't. Please hire an artist. It is worth it. And, it really makes a difference to not only that individual artist in that moment, but also the future of the industry creating amazing art.
I agree. All right,
Yes.
Ed, I got to get out of here because our second guest is backstage.
Yes,
now,
I apologize for talking so much. I've delayed.
No, you're fine. But I'm going to invite you back. I'm getting more organized as we go along, so you'll see changes. So please come back. And visit us again. Yeah,
Sorry,
I really
Chris just made me
appreciate
laugh. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Chris is great. I don't know if he said the only thing
Yeah.
he plays is fantasy football earlier. So, but yeah. Ed,
Well, Chris, you should come and join us for a fantasy tabletop role-playing game. You might enjoy it. I'll tell you what. If you come and join us on Discord and play a fantasy game, I will do a football game, sort of.
Okay. All
If you
right.
want to know what that means, you'll have to come and play, won't you?
I may join in on that, but all right, Ed, come back and visit us. I know you're going to have another project soon. So
I would love to. I would love to. I'll let you know the next time I've got something interesting going on.
Please do. I've really enjoyed it. We had a good time with you. So
Absolutely.
Go get some sleep now. So
Mhm.
I'm sorry I kept
do
you
my
up
best.
all night. So
Oh no,
right.
well worth it. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh well, thank you. Have a
you for
good
coming.
morning and drink extra
Yeah,
coffee.
that's right.
So. All right, we'll see you soon, Ed. Bye.
Bye.
That was great.
That was fun.
Yeah. It's always good when you have somebody so animated. All right, let me push a button here, and our second guest is coming right up.
Everyone has a story, but some have a secret chapter. That is the focus of the Sportcat shows. The program starts with the familiar, the lives and passions of interesting people. Then it ventures off the beaten path, exploring cryptid encounters and supernatural events that linger just beneath the surface of reality. And when you return to the real world, Sportcat Daily Gazette is there with your global news and weather, serving up the day's events with a sharp, humorous edge that actively rejects the culture of fear.
And welcome back to hour 2 of the Sportcat Show. As always, we have 2 guests, and tonight, no exception. I hope you caught the first hour with Ed there. And like I said, everything will be in the show notes. Our second guest is an author, and it's kind of a supernatural thriller, mystery kind of thing. It's got some twists and turns in it. Ricardo is backstage. So let me bring him out and introduce him to everybody. Hello, Ricardo. Or Rick. How are you this night? It's not morning where you are, is it? So
No, it's what is it? 7:07 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
That's crazy because Ed was like 2 a.m.
Oh yeah. I enjoyed listening to him. The last part that I got, he's a very personable guy. I like that.
He is. He's probably got a Wolfman. So you've written, is this your first book?
Yes, it's my debut novel.
Okay. So you've written, a Wolfman story that's not your typical genre where they go around ripping people apart or anything like a horror type thing. You made it into kind of a mystery, maybe a little romance in there. It kind of hit a few different genres. But it's PG-13, or I guess it's probably G. So it's safe. How did you come up with this idea of it instead of it being a horror, a horror thing? Because that's been done. How did you come up with this idea?
What happened is it came from a moment, a memory of mine. Back in what day was that? January 25th, 1998, Super Bowl Sunday. I went to go see the Super Bowl with a friend of mine. He invited me, and I lived. Do either of you know the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, a little bit?
I traveled there, but it's been.
I've been there once.
Been there, okay. So I lived in Alameda County, which is southeast of where I'm at now. I live in Pacifica, which is just south of San Francisco on the coast. And so I was living in Fremont, which is about 45 miles southeast of here. And so that day, I drove to my friend's house, and I had to take 2 freeways, and the exit to get off to go to his house. It's like a 7 or 8 mile road, country road. Beautiful, January. We had some rains. It was green. I was driving through this country road, beautiful rolling hills. Cow came up to my car. I slowed down to look at this cow, and it came up right to my car. And I just kept driving. I'm like, man, what a beautiful day. And then I went to go see the game with my friend. And on the way home, it was already dark. And I'm driving home, and it was low cloud cover, kind of foggy, looked real eerie. I don't know if either of you have ever seen a movie called An American Werewolf in London. Mm-hmm. Great movie. It's my favorite werewolf movie. Love it. And so it reminded me of the beginning where the 2 friends are walking, in the moors in England, right? And then they go to the bar, and then the guys kick them out, and then, they get attacked by the wolf. So it reminded me of that, and that memory stayed with me. And then in December of 2024, I'm hanging out with some friends on a Friday night, and we're talking about old friends, and I remembered my friend that night. I hadn't seen him in a long time. My friend Nick. So, you know, we all said goodbye, and then we went home. And on the way home, I'm driving. I'm like, what if a werewolf came out that night, right? What would I do, right? I'm like, what would I do? You know, so, you know, silly me, right? I got a vivid imagination from watching, you know, movies, sci-fi, fantasy, old, you know, 70s, 60s, monster movies from Japan, and, you know, all the alien movies, predator movies, all that stuff. So I got a good, vivid imagination. So that thought stayed with me, and I came home, and it just kept lingering. And I'm like, what am I going to do? So I first attempted to do hyper realistic videos using some AI. And I'm glad what that gentleman said earlier, Ed, what he said, you know, hire somebody, which I should have done. You know, I was trying to do it on my own, and you know what? Actually, it worked out that I was not able to figure it out. So I couldn't get it to work. And I'm like, okay, you know, based on my budget at the moment, I said, you know what, let me try something different. So I said, you know, I'm gonna do a book. Never done a book before. So came up with an outline, came up with the character names, and you know, I wanted to make a werewolf story, but I didn't want to make just a regular werewolf story. There's too many of those, right? And they all end the same, right? They meet some, you know, they turn into a wolf, they viciously kill people, and then they end up getting hunted and killed at the end. And I'm like, and I love werewolf stories, but I'm like, what am I going to do? So my son at the time, his best friend was in a music class in high school, and he's a trombone player. So my son decided, because it's his friend, he goes, oh, I'm gonna try the trombone. So my son brings the trombone home, and right behind me, on the wall behind me somewhere, he always put the case there every day, right? So I'm looking around, I'm, you know, writing down notes, like, what can I do? And I kept looking at the case every day, and then one day just you know, bingo, music. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna incorporate music in this. But what's the music going to do? And so I had to give my character a lot of depth, and I had to figure out that he's been involved with music since he was a baby. His mom and dad always played music, and, you know, he grew up learning how to dance, and everybody around him, family and everyone, were all music lovers or in the music industry. And so music is embedded in his DNA, in his soul. So when he meets this Wolfman and he gets bitten, and later on becomes Wolfman himself, right when he decides to go out in the woods, to be somewhere where he's not going to be seen, right? And because he doesn't want to get discovered so soon, because he knows what's going to happen. He's afraid that they're going to find out, and then they're going to kill him. And so he goes out to the woods, and he's praying, you know, he's hoping that his love of music for somehow will help him, you know, keep him sane. And so he turns to the Wolfman, but it doesn't do anything to him. He still becomes that vicious animal. And he's out in the woods, and he sees this lady jogging. It's gonna be his first victim. And she loves jogging in the woods at night. So she's playing music, and she's got her iPods on, and his senses are heightened. So right before he's gonna kill her, he hears music in her iPods. And that music starts transforming his consciousness back into his human self. And since he didn't grow up or has experience being a killer, he doesn't kill her. Instead, he looks at her in surprise, and he runs away from her. And so, without giving the story away, you know, each transformation presents a different scenario of what he does, and, you know, and he saves people, befriends them, they become his allies. That lady that he doesn't kill becomes, you know, the woman of his dreams. It's the woman of his dreams. You know, he ends up saving her, and later on she ends up saving him. You know, so I had to come up with a different twist, a different gimmick, right, to make it work, to make it enjoyable instead of making, you know, a vicious, gory. You know, I love werewolf tales. Now, I'm not a big horror guy. I don't, you know, I don't watch a lot of horror movies. I don't read a lot of horror stories, but I love werewolf tales, and vampires too. I love vampire movies. But like Sinners, right? Like when I just saw, you know, I saw Sinners a couple months ago. It's like, Jesus, that's a great movie.
Don't spoil it for me. I haven't seen it yet.
No, I'm not going to say nothing. You need, actually, you should see it. It's a great movie. It's very well made, and a great cast. But I love vampires and I love werewolves. But you know what? I wanted to make him different, so people can be introduced to a different type of werewolf. And in a way, I made it where it's like a metaphor. You know, the beast inside us. What would happen if, you know, what do we do when we're presented with the beast inside us? Do we let it overtake us, or do we use it for something else, something that maybe can make our lives better and those around us? So that was the idea they came up with.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Once you started this from the beginning, I mean, obviously I heard your idea started years ago, but from when you started putting pen to paper, our fingers to keyboard, how long did it take to get this a reality?
Let me see. It really came to me like in May. So that thought stayed with me for a while. And like I said, I was playing with creating the videos, but when I finally decided to do the book, it was May of last year. And then I came up with a lot of ideas. And then, I had to change a lot of things, the character names, the setting. And I'm in San Francisco, and most werewolf stories are set in Europe, right? England, mainly. And so I'm like, hey, I live in the Bay Area. I was a limo driver for 6.5 years. So I learned, all the parts of the Bay Area. And then I knew it before that too, a little bit, but driving limousine all over the Bay Area exposed me to all the beautiful scenery around here in the area. So I decided to, just to put it up in the county up north of San Francisco, because I love Marin County. I had to pick somewhere, right? I mean, wherever I pick is, it's like I could have picked where I'm at right now, but we don't have rolling hills here. I love Pacifica. I love where I live, but we have a lot of steep hills, and everything's like right there on the coast. And so, to me, it made more sense to where I put it, because it has a longer area. Where the werewolf can go out and do his thing. So that helped. And then, the other thing was my name, Rick London. Since I don't know England, I needed a catchy name, right? So at first I was coming up with Richard Madrid, right? I'm like, oh, Richard, because, I was telling my wife, so she was laughing when I was coming up with these names, right? I go, honey, what about Richard Madrid? She goes, sound like a porn star, right? Porn star name, Ricky Madrid, no. Or just, that was a silly name, right? Rick Madrid. And I'm like, and then I started thinking, I go, okay, werewolf stories don't happen in Spain, right? Madrid being the capital of Spain, right? So I thought about it, I'm like, okay, Rick England. I came up with Rick England, and I'm like, it's like, I came up with Rick London, right? And I did that also to pay my respects to England, and I put that in my book. So I chose London because the werewolf stories, the main werewolf stories, including that movie I mentioned earlier, American Werewolf in London, they became famous in England. So I'm like, hey, just pay my respects, and it's a catchy name. So, it's so to get back to what you asked me, I came up with all that, and then I kept writing, and I had an outline, but I couldn't figure out like the second half of the book. So, and I started kind of worrying about what am I going to do with the story, and I'm like, I kind of got stuck. I guess it's kind of like a mini writer's block, right? But then I thought about it. I just let it come to me. I wrote the first 4 chapters. First, I wrote the prologue, and then the first 3 chapters. And then from then on, I kept reading my story over and over to see how I want it to go. And then I would write another chapter, start from the beginning again, see if it flowed, do it again. And it just started coming to me naturally. So it took me about, I seriously started in August, and I was done by mid-November, or like right around Halloween. Because Yeah, not bad. My ending of the book is in it's centered on a Halloween night. So the last chapter or so, right? Wolfman, Halloween, everybody having a good time. They're all dressed up. So yeah, it didn't take long and it just came to me. Now it's not a long book. That's the other thing. So my book's only 154 pages, and I titled it Volume 1 because I have an outline for the second part. And I was gonna do that, but then I'm like, you know what? I want to introduce the world to this character. So I split it, and just to get it out because it's Halloween and I didn't want it to wait next year, since Halloween passed, and the holidays were coming up, and it's like, hey, get out a book, that people can enjoy for the holidays and something good. So I do have in my ideas of what I want to do with the second part, but I wanted the world to be introduced to this, hopefully to this, brave character, and there is romance, like you said, Glenn, there is romance in there.
So I know this is your debut novel, but have you written anything else?
No, I wasn't even thinking, it just, that idea, like I said, it just stuck, right? I've read little stuff here and there about other writers when they come up with stories for books. Could be anything. They're in a supermarket looking at produce, or just and that idea just pops, or they're out driving on a country road or driving out the ocean, and just ideas come from that. But I think it helps having a kind of like a vivid imagination from watching too many movies, too much sci-fi. Well, you can never watch enough sci-fi, right, guys? You can never watch enough sci-fi or fantasy movies, or even, it's funny. My wife now and then she puts on what's that channel? The Hallmark Channel, and I'm like, you know what? Sometimes it's not bad. They have some good stories on there, but I love good romantic comedies too. So it's like, I think my ideas just come from everything, right? Everything that I've seen, so there you go.
So this being your first novel, what did you find to be the hardest part of this?
The outline and coming up with the names for my characters. You want to give good names to your characters, right? Because that makes a difference. And then so I went to this publishing agency, and once I started, with most of the manuscript, and they helped me out with a lot of the things. I did hire them to do my book cover. I didn't try to do the book cover on my own. I did create a image on myself on using like Leonardo AI, a wolf of how I wanted it posed, and then I gave it to them and say, hey, can you create a book cover similar to this? But you have to have the Golden Gate Bridge on there. And I put the Golden Gate Bridge on there because it'll tell, the readers it's set in San Francisco. And, and then the wolf, in a dancing pose, smiling, listen to music. And I put the turntables on there because my story is my protagonist, Titus Wolfe, is a high school music teacher by day and DJ by night. And, and he did that because, again, he grew up around music, and that's where he wanted to center his life around, just being in music and teaching kids about music and making them, future musicians. And then he does the DJ thing because he's good at, he's good with rhythm, and he loves what he does.
In the first part of the book, I thought he was kind of an introvert, and maybe he is or was. And the second personality makes him not just transform, but kind of changes him. And then you actually go into a little bit about his backstory and dating and stuff like that. So it got more in depth. But at the first part, I thought, man, this guy's really introverted and he's going to like eat everybody.
And then he gets bitten, right? And it changes him, right? It changes him and something else. Yeah. Like, well, he gets bitten, right? His DNA. That's why I wrote that second chapter about the fever. He has this, fever, and I spend the whole chapter, going through fever, because they don't do that in movies, right? In the movies, he gets bitten. The main guy gets bitten, and then he's just like, he's going through the transformation. He's like, his limbs are growing. But, to me, I wanted to write something to see, what that bite did to him, and he's having all these, and he's having a night that's a night from hell, right? He's having this terrible fever, and because that thing is, that wolf, that wolf saliva, whatever, the virus is going through his body and it's changing his DNA slowly, and that's how his body's adjusting to it. And you're right, he is an introvert. I like that aspect, right? The perspective of him being an introvert, then he becomes a werewolf, and then he starts becoming a little looser, right?
Yeah, it transformed him. And one thing, I'm going to point this out. As a paramedic, I'm all into the paramedics are there. They're taking care of this guy. And we kind of skip ahead. And then later we read that it was healing. And so he apparently left the paramedics. But I was kind of confused. I was like, dude, if I had a guy like this, like he's describing in my ambulance, I'd probably call for help for one, but for two, I wouldn't let him go.
He didn't know what to do, right? He was just he was in shock, I think, right? You normally don't see Wolfman, right? And then it's like, and then they bite you and you're like, what are you going to do, right? So a little different. Yeah, a little different. Again, it's just, in movies and stories, I haven't read enough werewolf stories. I'm sure there's stories out there where they expand on the transformation and what happens before. But in movies, they don't do so much, right? In movies, they get bitten, and all of a sudden, the next night, the full moon comes out, and boom, they're out hunting and killing, right? And so,
I would imagine oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I would imagine that the transformation from human to werewolf, like that initial infection, would be very similar to some of the portrayals that we've seen in movies and stuff about after you're bitten by a vampire or you becoming a vampire. It would be very similar in some regards.
Yeah, I think so. But the thing in vampires, they die though, right? Isn't that the thing with vampires? They die.
Yeah.
Where the werewolf, it's like he got bitten, he got infected with a virus, right? That's gonna turn into something different. You know what I was thinking of? That was just good that you brought that up. I was thinking of a vampire angle, but I couldn't quite get it right because they're dead. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
But I love vampire stories. I love them, but they're dead. It's like, how do you, how are they going to have the heart to love somebody, right? Whereas a werewolf, right? A werewolf is they still got their hearts pumping, they still got all the instincts from a human inside of them still, that can help them survive, and they still have feelings for other people. So where vampires, again, they're dead.
How much of so with the interrelationship between the characters in your book, how much of you did you write into either your protagonist or the other characters or experiences in your life from your own relationships and life?
That's a great question. I've been asked that before, and like the romance part. I've been married for about 16 years. Happily married to my beautiful wife, and I had to have a strong female character in there. So for me, it's like I'm honoring my wife. It's like I had to get a real strong woman that can support a werewolf, that's strong enough to appreciate what he is and not be afraid of him, and to grow to love this guy, even though he's at first it looks like he's afflicted, but he's not, right? At the end, I try to make it, hopefully the reader can figure out towards the end, that it's not a curse. He's not cursed. He's blessed. Something great happened to him, and he has to figure out that, hey, you know what? I'm going to use this for something good. And so my marriage, I probably vicariously lived through that werewolf, he's got some of me in there for sure. I think, I don't know, I'm a first time writer, but I have a feeling that other writers, when they write their stories, they're part of their personalities in their protagonists, right?
And your other characters too, right?
Yeah. I got them from other people that I met, right? And their traits, their character traits, and their other great qualities, Yeah. I'm 61. I'm sure if I was like 21, I probably couldn't write this book, or maybe even 31, maybe even 41, because perhaps I hadn't met the people that I kind of probably took from their other character traits and took from them and put them into my characters. So, and to expand on that some more, it's like, so the name for my character came from Titus. I got it from two people. One was from the actor Titus Wolfe. He plays Harry Bosch on Amazon's Bosch. It's a hard-boiled detective novel that was written by Michael Connelly back in the early 90s. And so Amazon picked it up and started a series in 2013. And, I loved the book. So I'm like, I couldn't wait until the show came out. So I was 40? I was already in my 40s, almost 50s when that show came out. I was like 48, 49. And so Titus Wolfe, that's the actor. And then also Titus Andronicus, Shakespeare's Titus Andronicus, right? So I got it from that as well. And then, and so I'm like, because, I wanted to give my character a unique name. And then, like you said it earlier, you came up with a great point about, all these people that I've met in my life, I take a little bit of all of them and put them in all my characters, right? So, and without thinking, right, it just happened.
Well, I mean, you know your character, because I do the same thing, and I've had people ask me if I am my protagonist, and I say, no, I'm not my protagonist. In fact, I think my protagonist would love to strangle me if they ever met me. But I have little bits of myself, in my protagonist, but I've also write little bits of myself in all my characters, and you can probably attest to that as well.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point. I think I wrote some of the stuff that I wanted to be in some of the other people, some of the other guys, right? Stuff that I haven't experienced that I wanted to be, right? And then I wrote it, and not just in another guy, and in his love interest, right? Some of the things that I would love to see, and and that I love seeing in a lot of the friends that I have, that a lot of the great women that I met, right? And so, life experience, right? And then bingo, put in a book. That's a great point. I love that. Yeah, thank you.
If you had written this in your 20s, I think that you probably still could have written the same story in your 20s, but it would have been different. Because I think that every era and experience throughout our lives changes who we are and our outlooks. So it would have been a completely different story. So
I agree. It would have been. I want to probably come up with the angle with the angle that I did. I probably would have been another werewolf story. It's like, because back then, all the energy I had is like action and excitement, right? It's like, hey, the wolf, let's chase the wolf. He's a mad killer, right? Let's go get the wolf, right? Whereas like now I'm a lot older, right? It's like, no, he doesn't need to be chased. You know what? He's a lover. He's a music lover. He learns to be a lover. This thing that happened to him changes his persona. Totally different. Yeah, it comes from life experience. So,
did you come up with the music angle because you really like music?
Oh, I love music. I love all music. And then, like when I was talking about the trombone case, my son's trombone case, it popped in. And it's like, music's like, okay, what kind of music? That's another great question you brought up. It's like, okay, what kind of other music? I love all, I love everything. I mainly love funk and rock because I grew up in the 70s. I was a kid in the 70s and 80s, and I love funk and rock. But then as I grew older, I started loving jazz, love classical, love folk, love music from all over the world. Anything that has rhythm and beat, and it brings joy to people. I listen to it and I'm like, and I see what's so wonderful about it, and then I enjoy it. So I put that in my protagonist, right? The love of music. And he loves music from all over, because his parents played music from all over. They just didn't play a certain type of music that they grew up to. They learned to love music, and they exposed him to it, and that's why he grew up the way he did.
I love how there's certain songs that just sort of speak to your soul, like you're playing them and they give you goosebumps and such. What kind of, like, I know when I'm stuck for ideas, and you were talking about a mini writer's block. When I'm stuck for ideas, I'll put my headphones on, I'll go out of the house, and I'll just go for a walk, and I'll let my mind wander because I see my stories as movies in my head. But I'm playing like certain types of music for certain scenes in my book. So what kind of music do you listen to as you're writing your books, like on average?
I listen to a lot of Led Zeppelin, and then I also listen to a lot of jazz. I listen to a lot of I love listening to all the great jazz from the 50s. I like swing music. That just keeps the juices flowing. And then, when I'm in an upbeat mood and I'm happy with what I've done and I start playing some funk and some rock and some new age and a little bit of grunge, little bit of everything. But my love is like, what is it? 1995, I started listening to jazz. There's a great radio station in San Francisco Bay Area that it's a public, it's based in one of the community colleges here, and they play a lot of great jazz. But what's so great about it is all the DJs, whoever the DJ was at the time, they would explain the history of all the artists on the song or on the tune.
Nice.
And I just came to appreciate that. And then, I started loving jazz, and then everything else to me just sounded great, classical music that I didn't listen to in the past, other stuff. And I just came to lover of music of all kinds. So it's like my protagonist, if you were to ask me what part of the protagonist has it, that's me and him, is love for music.
The love of music.
That's where it came from. Yeah.
One of the questions I had that I had to go back and reread it. During one of the sections, he's in a classroom and there's a daytime full moon. What was the thought in doing a daytime full moon? Because there for a minute, I thought he's going to transform in school.
I thought so too. No, you know what? I wanted something different, right? Because you don't see that in movies, right? The werewolves always transform at night, right? So I wanted a different take, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me have a scenario where the full moon comes out in the day, but if he becomes a wolfman, then he's exposed, right? He's exposed to everybody, and they're gonna catch him. And so I made it where, the reader has to figure out this, like, hey, the power of his transformation comes from the bright light of a full moon at night, right? But I put that full moon at day. I don't know, I'm sure you've experienced full moons in the daytime, right? But you have to kind of look around to spot it, right? So to me, I spotted that. I put that in there, and Titus spots it, but it doesn't transform it. But his senses start increasing, and he's like, then he starts becoming ravenous, right? He gets real hungry, but not in the sense that he wants to kill an animal or anything. And so, he's what is it? I put it where he goes to a deli, because he's starving, and he eats 2 sandwiches in 2 minutes, right? He just wolfs them down, right? And then later on he eats, a steak, and he wolfs that down in a minute. I just wanted something different, so I wanted to give the audience something different to think about, right? Because you never see a daytime full moon in any story. And I've yet to read that in any other werewolf story. So I had to come up with something, right? I had to come up with a little different twist, right? Another twist in the tale, right?
Yeah, I thought that was really intriguing too, because it's like, yes, you can see the full moon during the day, but what would that mean? And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
and not
thank you.
I noticed your pun. He wolfs down 2 sandwiches.
You caught that.
I don't know if that was intentional or not, but
I don't think it was, but I'm glad you caught that. That was funny. I like. Thank you. I like that. Wolfs it down.
You're gonna have more than one, because you said this is volume 1. Mm-hmm. Now I guess the real bad guy in the book is a family member, and it sounds as though he's turning on his own family. What kind of background does he have to be that kind of person that would make him just switch?
Well, without giving anything away, you're gonna get that in the second book,
Okay.
where he gets it, but because he's a scientist, right? He's a lab guy, but he doesn't have the high morals that Titus has, or his dad has, or his mom has, or Nicole has, his love interest. So that's to be discovered in the next book. And I'd like to keep going past the second book. I'd like to make this a series, because I hope as the series grows, I'm bringing to life a bigger than life character, that some character that people would love. It's like, hey, I'm rooting for the Wolfman. I'm rooting for this guy. He's awesome. When he turns into Wolfman, he becomes something else. He becomes something greater than what he is, and look what he does. So I have plans for that, and I would love. I have a plan at least for 2. I have a plan for 3, really, but I'm I have the ideas for the second book. I haven't gone into the third book yet, but I have my ideas and for the second book. But yeah, I would love to make it a series, because I don't want him to die. Like every Wolfman story. And also, his evolution, right? As each time he transforms, I kind of, without thinking, I think my book is kind of like that. The first one, each time he transforms, something different happened, right? He discovers something about himself, right? And so, I'm gonna do that in the second book. Each time he transforms, he learns something. He learns something about himself, and something good. And that's pretty much the gist of the story, right? It's his evolution.
That's where your metaphor comes in.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea, because when I started my novel, I spent so much time on my character. I kind of fell in love with my character, and I didn't want to just end it at 1 or 2 or 3. And so this series is a slippery slope, but you grow to love your characters, but it kind of has to end somewhere. Have you thought about like how far you go?
Well, you know what? Wherever it ends, he's not going to die. I'm going to leave it where I let the readers decide. You know what I mean? With their imagination, what's going to happen to him.
But do you have an idea for an end to the series?
Yeah. Live
nice.
happily ever after, right?
Nice.
You have little wolf babies.
So, yeah. Hey, what would that look like?
Well, we'll see, right? We'll see.
If it's a virus, would it be inherited?
That's something to consider, right? Yeah, I have that.
You'd have a sequel.
Oh yeah, I have all kinds of ideas. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
oh man, I can't imagine. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I always wondered that about Spider-Man. Would it, if him and Mary Jane had a baby?
Yeah.
Would it be?
I don't know. It's radiation. Maybe he can't have babies. You never know. Can you imagine a werewolf toddler?
Or when the full moon comes out, right? It's like, oh shit.
I mean, it's bad enough when their food touches. Can you imagine
you got to put them in a cage, right? You got to put them in the basement. Right?
Yeah, something stronger than a playpen.
No, you gotta hire incognito. You gotta hire, not incognito, but in secret. You gotta hire some contractors that won't give your
hire them to build a storm shelter. Just don't tell them that it's not the storms.
Make sure you use mortar and steel, titanium. Make it werewolf
storm
proof.
Shelter. Yeah.
Make it werewolf proof.
Yeah, just forget the chains on the wall and the bars. That's okay. It's just for the storm. Sorry.
No, I have that idea. It's just I got to see where I want to take it, but yeah, something to give people to think about, right? Something that's never been touched upon.
Yeah,
right? Like, what would happen, right? There you go. Yeah, it's headed in that direction. Yeah.
Knew I was on to something.
yeah, I like that.
We developed a whole new plot for future series.
Yeah.
And Uncle Everett will take care of them all. He can be the babysitter, the old Marine. We'll just leave the kids with him. We're going to a movie. Wow.
Hey, you know what? And I got to give you guys credit. I love it that you guys you guys know pretty much the story, and I love that you guys read it, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, you guys have you know, like Everett, you know, I wasn't going to say anything, but you mentioned it, and it's like, you know, stuff that I wanted to be, you know, he has. He's a high moral guy, you know, he's disciplined, you know, no, you know, doesn't put up with crap, you know what I mean? Wants to get to the truth, right? Wants to get to the truth, and he becomes, you know, Titus's ally, you know, and together, all three of them, you know, the three amigos.
I love where he said, "Please stop eating my goats."
Absolutely.
It's getting a bit expensive.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's why he, you know, that's what enraged him, right? That's why he's like, he starts eating his goats, and then that's where I introduced him, and you know, that was the beginning, right? That's the beginning of the evolution of Everett, you know, and then he comes in the story, and because of that, you know, they meet up and stuff happens, and they become friends. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about if this made it to Hollywood? Just up the street
Absolutely.
from you?
I told my wife when I was, no, thank you for saying that, Glenn. No, I firmly believe my book is definitely Hollywood worthy. I think it'd be a great
Who would
story.
be the characters? Who would play what?
You know, there's so many good actors right now, because Titus is in his early to mid 30s. So I gotta figure out who's gonna play him. But you know, the other thing too is, you know, a lot of good movies that are made, a lot of times they get unknown actors, right?
Yeah.
You know, and then boom, and then they get discovered, right? So to me, let's say that does happen. I'm hoping it happens, and they allow me to put input in that. I'm gonna go for the unknowns, because they're hungry, right? Unknown actors are hungry, you know.
They're just waiting for their chance.
They're just waiting for their chance. You know, the universe is giving them up. You know, like, great example, right? Star Wars, right? The first Star Wars, Glenn, remember? Nobody, I mean, you saw Mark Hamill here and there in a few things. You saw what is it, Harrison Ford in a few things. But man, that movie, you know, Carrie Fisher, but all of a sudden, bingo, right? Bam, they're stars all of a sudden. You know, Jaws, you know, Robert Shaw. I love Jaws. Robert Shaw, Richard Dreyfuss, all these guys, they weren't doing anything big at that time. And then bingo, just all it takes is one movie, right? Mm-hmm. And a great script, right? A great script, great, you know, a great production company, great director, you know, that's all it takes. So for me, if that happens, I'd probably go for the unknown, that hungry unknown actor who wants to show their chops. You know what I mean? So
I kind of pictured Clint Eastwood as Everett, though.
He's too old. Because Everett in my book is like Everett in my book's like in his early to mid 40s. So I want to keep it around there. You know, it's funny you say Clint Eastwood. They did a movie with him many years ago, like in the 90s? It was a Michael Connelly book, right? And the guy that he played was a lot younger, like 20 years younger than what Clint Eastwood at the time. But because Clint Eastwood is a big Hollywood star, right? And the movie wasn't that good either. Not one of his best. But if that happens, I want to keep it tight to the vest there, you know, where all the actors are pretty much around the age that the characters are, you know, and just bring in maybe some unknowns and maybe some knowns, you know, as the mother and father, and then but Titus, I'd probably want somebody new. Him and Nicole, I'd want somebody new. But for the rest of the cast, you know, bring in some stars to attract people to go to the theater, right? You bring in some heavies, right? So
when you're writing your characters' descriptions, how do you balance that? How do you walk that fine line between too much, not enough? You want people to kind of know what your character looks like, but you also want them to picture them in their head, like have their own opinion about what they look like. You don't want to do too much for them.
Yeah, no, that's true. I don't think I gave too much away in the book about their looks. I did describe Titus. I did say Nicole is beautiful, right? Because he was smitten by her, right? When he saw her, he was like, her beauty, she's beautiful, tough. The lady runs, she's in, top shape. But him, I didn't give much away. But I hope he's good looking. I hope he's a handsome guy, to attract Nicole, not just being a wolf man. But I think to me, the main thing is I wanted to focus on his character. That's why did you guys, you read that chapter, right? Where he retrospect, how he grew up, around music. And I was thinking about adding more to describe him a little more, but the only thing I did was about the music angle, and then him being an athlete, right, in school, being a real good athlete, right. He was a track star, which helped him, get a scholarship. But ultimately he chose to become a teacher because he loves teaching kids, and people coming up to him and asking him for his advice, and that's why he wanted to become a teacher. But I didn't give that much thought. That's a great question. I didn't give much thought about how I would. I guess I'm leaving it to the viewer, right?
Yeah, because the only reason I'm asking that question is because a lot of people, like when I give descriptions on my characters, it surprises me that I have this image in my head. I'm describing them, and I got readers and other people. They're like, "Oh no, I pictured him this way," and I was like, "Well, that wasn't at all like I pictured him," but it still fits the description.
My apologies. My headset was giving me a bunch of static. My apologies here. Can you guys hear me okay still?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
We hear you.
Perfect. I got this new headset and it's like giving me static sometimes. My apologies. I didn't catch the last part of your question.
Oh, I was just going to say that the only reason I was asking is because I write my character. I have a visual of my character. And so I write the description for that visual, but other people who read it will tell me, oh, they imagine my character looking completely different. But the elements still fit the description, but they envision them completely different than what I do.
Yeah. You know what? I think I'm going to do that in the second book. Because you're right. Because, a lot of the books that I read, the author does take the time to, give a physical description. He's 5'10", 5'11", a little pudgy or whatever. And you know what? For some reason, it just never occurred to me to do that with my main character.
Some people do that intentionally. Some authors do that intentionally so that their readers can visualize what they look like, and that gives the readers that creative authority.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna do that in the second one. So hopefully people will be hungry for the second book. It's like to give them more, or more description of all the characters. Yeah, that it didn't occur to me. I was so focused on the wolf story, the wolf angle, and him meeting the people. I think I gave a little bit. I believe Everett. I gave a little bit about Everett. I did give somewhat of a description. But in the first one, I just leave it up to the reader's imagination. Yeah. And I've read a lot of books too that that some of the authors are deliberately leave that out, right? Just to leave it up to the imagination of the reader. So, but that's a great point. I love that. Yeah, something I could use for later.
Yeah.
How did you know this was the stopping point for this book?
Because it was that Halloween party,
okay.
and the antagonists, they're coming together, especially from what happened previously, that big scene, right? So here's the Halloween party, and the antagonist is showing up more and more, right? And his senses start telling something's off here, right? And so that Halloween party, at the end he discovers he's being watched, right? And then that something's going to come about from there, a big fight scene's going to come out, but that's for later, right? That's for the
Are
second.
you going to start
right?
the next one with the big fight scene?
That's a surprise. I'm gonna leave that for
Ah.
that's a big surprise for you guys. Yeah. There's I have like 5 or 6 different already ideas of how I want to start the book, because again, one of the main things that has to happen with him is he has to guard himself from being exposed, right? So he's already figured out that daytime full moon doesn't transform him, but who knows what's going to happen next time if he's if he's going to need to like go live with Everett, because if he gets hungry again, he's going to need to leave a goat, during the daytime full moon, right? Or a cow or something, right? And but he has to guard himself because he kind of figured that out at I put some of that in there toward the end there, what he has, how he's figured out what he has to do, especially being a DJ. But that's the main thing, because he doesn't want to expose himself, and I don't want he's going to get exposed eventually, but right now he doesn't get exposed because that would change the trajectory of the story, in a different way, right? So I want my story still centered on those 3 and the antagonist and what's going to happen there. And then later on, everyone's going to discover who he is. At least he's going to start being seen here and there, and people are like, it's like, do we live in Fantasyland or something? What's going on here? But little by little, because again, in different in different stories, right? Because the Wolfman, he gets seen by everybody. Everybody knows there's a Wolfman. Yeah, I didn't want that. I want this to be, I want this to slowly evolve. It's like the pyramid here going that way.
If there is one wolf that bit him, there could be other wolves out there.
Yeah, more to come.
Yeah.
That's coming. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The other thing that I'm gonna get to is the origins of that. Yeah. Without giving you guys any details.
That could be a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
What made you decide to give him a tail? Because I've read that
they don't put that in other movies, right? And it made it for a good comical scene, right?
I was like, see, you start wagging his tail.
He's like, what the heck? I got a tail, because you don't see that in you don't see that in werewolf tales, right? He's just a werewolf. He's nasty, but they don't show him. You're like, man, oh my God, I got a tail. What the hell's going on? So something different. Yeah, something different. Like I said, it's werewolf tale with a twist, in several ways, right? So wanted to give you guys something different to ponder there. So yeah.
We had multiple genres in there almost. I mean, kind of like spy thriller or
romance,
romance.
Mystery.
Yeah. So
it's just stuff I love to read about, and in a way, like I said, it's a metaphor, and life is like that. For many of us, right? Life's a mystery to many of us, and we meet intriguing characters, some strange characters, some mysterious characters, So yeah.
The more authors I meet, the more I'm convinced that we're all just introverted philosophers.
I like that. Yeah, I agree with you. I believe that. Yeah, we are.
Yeah. And I have, you've got, aside from the werewolf, have you got ideas for something else you want to do? Or,
I've been asked that a few times, and because I love mystery thrillers and spy thrillers, I would love to get in that. However, for something like that, the research that's required for that it's time consuming, right? It requires meeting a lot of people, talking to a lot of professionals. Later on, my hope is that my book, becomes popular, and hopefully it gets adapted for a movie or TV series, which will give me the time to do research on something different. I would love to write a good mystery thriller, with a detective with a mysterious past, that's got secrets that nobody knows about, right? only those closest to him, and they only see that when those harrowing scenes with shootouts, or he's going after the bad guy in some way. Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, those are my favorite books. Hard-boiled detectives. I mean, to me, hard-boiled detectives are mystery thrillers, right? Because like there's this one writer, Jonathan Kellerman. Have either of you heard of him? Heard of him? Right? He writes this series, Glenn, because you kind of nodded no. He writes a series. His protagonist's name is Alex Delaware. He's a child psychologist, right? Mm-hmm. And his best friend is a LA detective. And oh my God, they come up with all these killers. And Jonathan Kellerman writes it so great, where most of the time the killers are right in front of them, and they don't discover them till later on,
Yes.
through all the clues and everything. So to me, to write something like that, I think it would be great. But again, just the research involved in that is just, it's great, And I know with a lot of authors, as they become some of the more famous authors, they have the funds, right? They have the capital. They hire a team to help them with the research, right?
Sometimes or they go on location and research locations. I mean, here I am Google Mapsing, and somebody else is in Austria looking through streets and deciding where they're going to have this car chase or foot chase. And I'm like, Google Maps.
It's funny you said that. It's fun. It's great that you say that. I was listening to a podcast the other day. I'm on an online book club, and they were talking to the book of the month author, right? And she goes, "Hey, how do you do your research, your location?" I Google Map stuff, right? That was funny.
Yeah.
And then you do it, right? Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Although mine are more fantasy, so I can't really Google Maps this fantasy realm, So.
Haunted houses, right? Stuff like that. And you got to go there in person. Yeah.
Yes. Google Mapsing. I like that. That's a new term.
One question we always ask our guests.
Yes.
Tell me, have you ever seen a werewolf or a dog man or Bigfoot or had a ghost?
I haven't, but I wish I had. But I do believe in spirits. I believe in good spirits and bad spirits. Bad spirits, not so much because they're bad. It's just they had a traumatic ending. I got that from what's that movie with Bruce Willis, The Sixth Sense, right?
Yeah.
The little kid, right? He sees ghosts that can't leave where they're at because of the trauma that they experienced when they died, right? So I believe in all that. I believe in spirit. Have I ever seen? I mean, I've seen some weird stuff. I've seen some weird looking people that look like animals, but but not definitely. But maybe they're out there, But the thing is, in our day and age, with everyone having cameras and satellites and there's, oh my God, there's a camera everywhere. I'm surprised you're not in the bathrooms yet. You know what I mean? So, but they're everywhere.
If you want to research it, in our chat here, Monsters Unleashed, I haven't seen it, but they supposedly have a Dogman video. So there you go. Check that out. So
not Dogman the comic by
no, they're one time out in the woods. And so
when you said Dogman, my kids read the Dogman comics, and that's the first thing that come to my head. It's like, wait a minute, probably not that Dogman.
Well, guys, with all the science that we have now, right? With I mean, they're crossbreeding all these dogs, right? Cats. And can you crossbreed a human with a different species? That's a possibility. You know what I mean? There's a lot of brilliant scientists out there, that would be a little.
Are they brilliant or evil?
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
makes for a great story. Right?
Yeah.
It makes me wonder how many things they have actually done that we won't learn about for 10 years time or 20 years time. Maybe they already have. We just won't hear about it for a few decades.
It's a very well kept secret, right?
Yes.
When you were talking about the Bruce Willis movie, Sixth Sense, it being a paramedic in EMS, we had so much fun with that. I see dead people as a paramedic. I'll give you a true story. One of my preceptors here in Georgia, he had a traumatic brain injury, and after the traumatic brain injury, we could get on scenes and he'd be like, yeah, we're too late. Like, what? He's like,
He already knew?
Yeah, he saw him.
Wow.
Yeah, he had to get out of VMS and go do something totally separate because it started affecting. I mean, we could like pull up on car wrecks, and he's like, "Yeah, it's just gonna be bad, guys."
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Well, you just reminded me of something. I worked at this place back in 97, 98, and a guy working there was talking about something happened with his wife, like she got possessed by something, right? And they had to bring. I don't know, an exorcist or something, right? But he said he would look at her sometimes and she, like her whole face, everything turned, different. Like she was possessed by a demon or something, right? And I was like, and I thought to myself at that time, he's either crazy or he's just coming up, just to bring some entertainment. But we hear stories like that from people now and then. I mean, you never know. But
I've seen a lady climb a wall, literally. So
really,
yeah,
wow.
Like Spider-Man. Yeah. So
what?
I said, not today, Satan, in my ambulance, and left. Story.
Well,
I worked an ED issue.
I worked in hospitals for many years, and you'd always see these dark, like somebody walk by a window in a room where there's nobody there, and you go and you look, why is there somebody in there? Oh, there's nobody there. Oh, okay. But you see people walk by a window. I swear every hospital is haunted. If you think about it, it makes sense.
Yeah. My mother died of cancer in a hospital, and she had a horrible death, and I'm sure her spirit is still probably wandering the halls there, right? Now and then. I hope her spirit is somewhere else, of course, on the opposite side of our galaxy, looking, exploring all the beautiful parts of the universe. But yeah, I believe that, like I said, especially from that movie, The Sixth Sense, especially when they have, traumatic endings, there's no closure there, right? So,
nope.
Yeah.
Nope. So, all right, man, we're up against a hard break here. I've actually run over. But I want you to tell everybody, especially our Australian audience, because we got such a great following there. Where can they find you? Where can they find your stuff? All that good stuff.
So first I have a website, which is Dancing Wolfeman. And then again, Wolf like his last name. So WOLFE man. So dancingwolfeman.com is my website. I have a button on there that it'll take you to Amazon. However, I'm working on getting a feature on there where people can just buy books on my site, the paperback and the hardcover from my site without going to Amazon. But if you Google my book, the Dancing Wolfman book, Google might tell you, did you mean the Dancing Wolfman, the name of my book? And if you click on it, it'll give you several sites where you can buy them: Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, Thrift Books, other sites. My books is on about 15 different sites that you can buy them, and including Amazon, of course. Yeah. But yeah, definitely check out my site. And I tell everyone when I'm on the podcast, and if you do buy my book, I hope you enjoy it, of course. And please go to my website at the bottom. You can leave me a comment, send me anything. I would love to hear your feedback. Because to me, that's a learning opportunity, so that's how I take it. And so I'm so glad that I was here. Thank you.
No, thank you. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And make sure when you have volume 2 or book 2, you come back and visit.
Absolutely. I would love to do that. You guys were awesome. You guys gave me so many ideas for my next book and everything. So I want to,
not me.
Yeah, I want to come up with all that stuff if I didn't show up tonight. So thank you so much for that.
All right. Well, have a great night, and we will see you soon. And for anybody that's listening, all of that will be in the show notes. Come over to the Sportcat shows and find it on YouTube. Like I said earlier, it'll probably be tomorrow, not tonight, but I'll get all that in the show notes, and it'll be out there. So, Ricardo or Rick, have a great night. Thanks for coming in.
You as well, Glenn. And my apologies. Jen, thank you so much. You guys went through the whole gamut of stuff. I loved it. Thank you so much.
You can find her pen name, J.M. Shaw, where you can get all of her books. I'm gonna have her tell us about that here in a minute. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So make sure to check her out.
Look you
All
up.
right,
Let me write that
write it
down. J.M. Shaw. There you go.
You'll be addicted to her stuff. I promise you.
Okay, I will. Thank you, guys.
All right, man. Have a great night. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Jen. Well, we've successfully wrapped up another episode. And as always, thank you. And I will have information on how to get in touch with you in the show notes tomorrow as well. But go ahead and tell everybody what's going on with you and where they can find you.
Yeah, best place to start is www.jmshawauthor.com. You can find all my books, links to them online. I have my Facebook and Instagram on the bottom.
All right. And we will be back doing the Sportcat Daily Gazette Monday through Friday, probably next Wednesday. And hopefully, I don't know if I'll be able to next week. I'll be able to get back on the Thin Line Rock Station. I'm playing nursemaid paramedic in charge now, so it's not as easy as it sounds. So we'll do that. And next week, Jen, we have a very unique episode. We have two cast members from the TV show on Discovery, Naked and Afraid.
I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, we're going to have them on, one in 1 hour, one in the other. They're both a team on the episode, and then their show will be on, is it Saturday or Sunday? And they have asked me if we would be interested in, I haven't really sprung this on you, so this is kind of a shocker, doing a live show right after it was airing on Discovery and doing a Q&A with the fans. And I was like, if you want, I would love that. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, of course, you all know with my reality TV with Big Brother, Naked and Afraid fits in there. So, and don't worry, I will have my clothes on. So,
yes, because that's what everybody was worried.
Yeah, well, no, they could be with me. You never know. So, you and Harley, hey, you do you. Don't. No, don't. That'll distract me. But hopefully we'll have a great episode. I've already been promoting it a bit and talking to some people. So I am super stoked about it. I don't know if you know this, Jen, but I will ask anybody if they'll come on the show. I mean, I don't care if you're Clint Eastwood, or Wayne Gretzky, whomever. I will ask you. You could. What are you going to say? Yes, no, or just ignore me. Either way. So I'm not afraid to ask anybody. And I was shocked when I got a reply back from the producers at Naked and Afraid. They're like, "Yeah, that'd be great." And I was like, "Wait, what?" That. So I am pumped for that. So it's their brand new season. I think this last Sunday or Saturday or Sunday was only the third episode. So I'm looking forward to that. So we'll have that next week. And Jen, I hope you're back with me next week. So
yeah, I'll plan to be here.
Good. It's going to be a lot of fun. So and there's my werewolf needing to go outside. So, good Lord. So I think she sounds vicious, doesn't she? So I'm in the woods. God knows she could have smelled a possum or skunk or something. So who knows? But let me get out of here. Everybody. This is the next Q&A. Yes, Chris, you will be allowed to have Q&A. I have warned them that sometimes the chat gets a little frisky. So, but we'll have fun with it. So, looking forward to it. I will keep Denise, my moderator, on her toes. So, everybody, come over and find us on the Sportcat shows. Leave us a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop us a comment, send us a message. Jen and I both respond to everybody that talks to us. So I've never met a stranger. So
the stranger's just somebody you haven't met, right?
That's right. So everybody have a great night. For our fans in Australia, a great morning. We will be back next week, and we will definitely be back next week with the Sportcat Daily Gazette. So stay tuned on my Facebook page. I'll post all the information there. Everybody have a great night. We will talk to you soon.
Bye.